What's up, guys? We're gonna brobeatz. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make an RNB beat. If you guys haven't subbed already, or turn post some, you should do so because there's a bit a lot. Let's hop right into it. So BPM 90 is kind of like a sweet spot for like this stuff. And then we can just go ahead and grab in a scale and get started, and I'll go over sound selection as we go through. So we can just grab in, let's do it like a G minor, something like that. So let's go ahead and we can get in with our first sound. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our bass, and this is the VST that I'm using. Just a little guitar. Now for sound selection, mixing realistic sounds and like synths, you'll have success if you just kind of combine those two together. If you just need kind of a guidance on the actual sound selection. So I'm gonna start with the guitar, and we could just go ahead and make our bass. So I'm gonna just do a super basic bass line because I don't want to overcomplicate it. So we just start on our root, and really we can just go down literally one by one in the scale like this. All right, and then if you ever wanted to add any notes, you could take the notes that you have and build a chord from it, and then you can start adding notes in and stuff like that, right? If you see, a lot of these notes are in harmony already, so you can like take this one and move it over like that, okay? And then this is the bass line. Okay, doesn't sound R&B-ish now, but that's because we have to add our chords, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our chords. So the chords you want to stick with are pretty much the 9th and 7th chords. And if you do not know how to actually make them, you can come up to stamps and just click 9th or 7th, right? And just place them in, pull them up an octave, okay? So you will need 5 notes total in your chord to get a 9th. So if we take this, pull it up 1 octave, and then proceed to make a 9th, minor 9th from this, we skip this note place, skip that note place, skip this note place, skip that note place. We'll have 5 notes, and then we'll have our minor 9th. Now, this plugin is trying to emulate a real guitar, so you have to offset the notes a bit to kind of get that sound, right? So that's our first chord. And then over here, same thing, right? Pull this up. Just keep it going until you get 5. And let's see if we like that. Okay, I don't like the way that sounds. So just some fixes you can do for something like this is you can take the lead note and just kind of move it along the scale, all right, and see if like you like anything, right? And you can also try notes outside of it, and that's like a slightly different sound. So I'm gonna move this here, and this is not working. So one other thing we can do is stick to these half steps, okay? And then we can use any note that is on these half steps to try those. And this is like a go-to. So you can go up 1 or down 1 to see if it works. I kind of like that chord as just by itself, but it's not what we're looking for. And then let's try this one. Okay, I kind of like that. So that is a way right there you can kind of go outside of the scale without really knowing too much about like music theory and stuff. Just kind of trial and error it, move up 1, down 1. And let's just copy this over. Just be lazy and copy it over. And we need to change something here. Let's change this one because it's in the scale. And let's just see how that sounds. Okay, I like that. So let's go ahead and move on to the second part. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our second half. So this one, just pull this up, pull it up 1 octave, and just skip every other note within the scale until you get 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and you can play it. And then if you want, you could pull notes up or down an octave. I'm gonna do this G because this matches this one. So I'm gonna pull that one up. All right, sounds pretty good. And over here, let's match this rhythm. Let's pull this back like this. Pull this up an octave. And then from here, you can kind of keep doing the same thing. And I'm gonna go even past it so that we have all our notes to work with. And let's delete this middle because I want this to kind of go up, kind of build up. Let's play it. Okay, so there's definitely something wrong. So what I'm gonna do is pull this one down and then do our little trick, our +1, -1. Let's try this one. I kind of like that one, so I'm gonna stick with that. So let's play it one more time. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to our next instrument. All right, so this is the sound that I'm using for my second one, and this is kind of like a pad or like a swell or swoop. Kind of swoops in. So I'm gonna use this for like to layer with our guitar. Right, and I'll need to edit and you know, process this later and at the end, but for now we can keep it how it is, and let's move on to our next one. All right, so we're gonna start our next instrument now. Now with this, what I just went ahead and did is I just applied the strum tool to this so that all the notes don't play at the same time. So you just go up here to tool, you just highlight everything pretty much, go to tools and just strum, and then it'll just kind of strum everything. And the reason I did that is because the guitar wasn't working right. So you needed to offset the notes so that it'll play every note that you want. So this is the sound that I'm using. Okay, and again, we'll need to process these sounds later, but let's go ahead and take this whole thing, and then we can just delete some of these notes at the bottom, and then figure out what we want to do with these. Okay, and I'm gonna mute this one. All right, and I don't want to play this the whole time through, right? Because we have other instruments for that. So I just kind of want to be tasteful with it and just let it play out, right? And put it in spots I think it should come in at. So that's why I'm kind of like skipping a bunch of spaces. And then over here, I'm gonna leave this in, and let's just leave it like that. Okay, and that is, I think, our last sound besides our bass. So let's move on to our bass. All right, so now we're gonna do our bass line, and this is what I'm using, and I have it set to the warm vintage setting. So let's take our bass line, and this should be pretty easy. This should be low enough. Yeah, let's turn this up, and then pretty much we could just kind of be tasteful again, just kind of play it where we think it should go. And I'm gonna just play these. And then you can get a groove if you put it to 1/4, right, which is already in. And if you put it on this like second note, it'll kind of give you like a little groove between, right, rather than here. It's more robotic this way. If you offset it a little bit, right, kind of has a little bit of like a humanized bounce. Not exactly, but it's close enough. And then let's maybe bring this back in at the end. Let's lower these down. Let's take this note, pull that down. All right. All right, so our bass is done, pretty easy. So now we can go ahead and add our drums in, and we'll be done with this, and then we'll do the processing and everything later. All right, so let's go ahead and start our drums. Now the drums for like R&B stuff is very simple. Sometimes, you know, it depends on the genre exactly, but for the most part, they're very simple drums. There's nothing like crazy going on. So we can just kind of kind of layer these. We are in halftime, so it's going to change our grid a little bit. So instead of it looking like this, right, we kind of have to shrink it down. Let's go ahead and turn that up. We can add a little bit of velocity to the hi-hats. And I think that's good, honestly. And then we just do some processing to kind of make it all glue together. So what I'm gonna do is kind of level some of these sounds and everything, and I'm gonna add some presets, and then I'm gonna come back and kind of show you what I added and, you know, things that you can do to yours to kind of get similar sounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're gonna do our post-processing. So I went ahead and like leveled things just slightly and panned things that I thought should be panned. But for my drums, I put my drums in a bus, okay, and I'll play it with the effects and without. And then of course you can see I put reverb on my cymbals. Right, so frequency splitter, I just boosted the highs a bit to make it crispy, and then I use a multi-band compressor to boost certain frequencies that I liked, but while controlling it a little bit. This is going to give it a little bit of character too, so it's not just like super dry drums. So, you know, just pull this up a bit. Right, you can see I put this around where like my clap and snare will hit. So those are the drums. I advise you to do something to your drums. Don't make them just super dry. So for the bass, really, I just added an EQ. I really like subby basses, so I just took out all the high frequencies. Okay. And then you could do a lot more than I'm doing. I'm just doing this like on short notice, but if you like your project, you should put way more time into kind of molding the sound that you want. So I have multi-pass for like this little key. And pretty much I just put a filter cutoff and a EQ to kind of take out the frequencies I don't want. And then a reverb to melt it into the background. So it's rappable or singable, right? So I'll play it with and without. Okay, and then you could turn these off and use automation clips if you want to add or keep that original sound in like your structure. So I copy this onto this sound, and then basically I just took out like any frequencies I didn't like, which is like around here, you know, and then just adjusted things to this sound, as you can see. And this is with and without. All right, so on to the guitar. With the guitar, you can see here, took out some lows, boosted a little bit of highs, and with this I boosted the highs so that the guitar could stand out as like the main instrument. And then multi-pass, I'm gonna add an ensemble in this section. Now with this plugin, what you can do is actually add effects on certain parts of the sound. So like if you want like an effect on the lows, you can do that. And then towards the highs, I add a pitch shifter and then a delay. Just so it's like something a little different, right? So it's not like super dry. And then this is without and on, and I'll just mute these. Okay, so now I'll just play the whole thing all together. All right, that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.